Bitcoin has seen an explosive move to 89,000. In today's video, we are going over exactly what you need to know about this current breakout, how to avoid holding into macro bear markets, methods we are using to project when the exact top will be, and of course, how the altcoin market is developing. Let's go ahead and jump on in. Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having a fantastic day today. Bitcoin has not only reached the $85,000 measured move target of the breakout of the ascending channel, but it has smashed upward closer to 90,000. In today's video, we are going over exactly what is happening on the charts, whether or not Bitcoin is going to see a correction, how the altcoin market is looking, when the likely top will be for Bitcoin, potential top signals, and so much more. Before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos for Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If you want more of that kind of content, join us on Telegram. It is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop with cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. If you are interested in taking your trading to the next level, you can join us in VIP with nearly 700 members. We post trading setups with exact entries, exact targets, exact stop losses, trade justification, exclusive analysis, and so much more. Look at all of those profits we are printing, and I'll just go ahead and shout this trade out. What an absolutely insane trade we made on Bitcoin, entering at 55k, exiting at 84. Absolutely wild stuff. If you have been following our channel for a long time now, you would know we have been macro bullish pretty much religiously from 16.5k every day, telling you guys the charts are bullish until the policies change, until we see the global economic environment shift towards a bearish environment. It's likely we're going to see a continuation higher of interest rates continuing toward the downside. It is very likely this bull run is pretty much just starting to begin. Now, we are likely to see corrections, we are likely to see profit taking, but in today's video, we're going into massive amounts of detail in regards to what I am doing personally and what I expect to see, and also the warning signs for when this could potentially all fall apart. I do also want to say, if you were following us on Twitter, you would have got this amazing entry at around 49,000. We posted that we believe the bottom to be 47 to 49,000 on that move, and we are up around 80% from that rally. Fantastic stuff. Enough about that, guys. Let's jump on in. So over the past 24 hours, we have seen a freaking insane move for Bitcoin. Now, I said in yesterday's video, we saw an insane move. We have seen yet again another insane move for Bitcoin, pushing all the way up into 89,000, very close to 90,000, $89,792. And we are now starting to see some short-term pullbacks develop on the very small time frame. We're going to be going over exactly what you should be paying attention to on these smaller time frames, key reversal points, and of course macro correction points, and a lot more. Moving over to the market data to start off, 24-hour volume is sitting at 380 billion, up 24%. Liquidations down 0.4%, 631 million, 228 million coming from longs, 368 million coming from shorts, telling us already a lot of people are trying to short this market, which again hasn't proven to be a fantastic move as Bitcoin continues to push upward. We are starting to build up a lot of long liquidity right below where we're sitting, up to around that $82,000, $85,000 mark. So we do have the potential to come down and sweep that liquidity at some point. Moving over to the DXY, we have now retested that major downtrending diagonal resistance. If we reject from here, it is likely the risk asset markets will very likely continue higher. If we break out from here, this will be the first warning sign we have for a potential correction looming for Bitcoin and the S&P 500. So I'm actually watching the DXY very closely here. We can see on our RSI, we have actually broken through, indicating a positive momentum shift. Now, we do have CPI data coming out tomorrow night, so we're looking at around 36 hours for the CPI data. CPI data is actually suggesting inflation might come in a little higher than our prior month, and it is uncertain how the market is going to respond to that. Of course, we've seen a lot of emotions stir around rising inflation over the last 2 years, but in this instance, the inflation is actually rising as a consequence of more spending in the economy, as a consequence of those interest rates starting to reduce. So it's actually rising for a good reason, not for what we have seen in the past being bad reasons. So in this instance, although inflation rising is actually a bullish thing for the risk asset market, people may be still emotional to hearing that inflation is rising, and that could actually trigger a little bit of a sell-off. So I'd be quite cautious moving into the next 36 hours into this news event, as it could cause some turbulence in the market, potentially toward the downside. Pay attention to that. The S&P 500 is still looking fantastically strong, and as we have been saying, we are trading based off an invalidation method, meaning we are bullish until the macro uptrend ends. The macro uptrend in this regard is going to be the structural pattern we have been trading within over the past, year and a half, which is simply we are watching our prior highs. All of these prior highs, not a single high, our first high, our second high, our third high, and our fourth high, none of these highs we have actually seen the weekly close occur below it. We bounced from here, support resistance flip. We bounced from here, we continued upwards, support resistance flip, support resistance flip. So if we drop below one of these prior highs on the weekly, for example, if this candle over here comes down and closes below, in my eyes, that would be a macro top signal for the S&P 500, and I would then expect the price to go into a full-blown correction into these lows before we continue back upwards. That'd be something I'm watching for. Until then, until that happens, I expect higher for the S&P. Let's go ahead, guys, and quickly discuss what we're going to be talking about. So we talked about the short term. We'll come back and discuss that. We'll go over the altcoin market as we're actually retesting as we speak the March-April highs of this year, which is a very critical point. We can see Bitcoin dominance is still pushing upwards. We're going to be going over, of course, the breakout of this range. We'll also be taking a look at potential top targets for Bitcoin based on, again, our vortex trend indicator. We'll also be taking a look at our date range trends, and we'll be going over when the macro bear market could potentially start. So before we get into that, a quick word from today's video sponsor. If you want 15 to 45% off your trading fees for life, massive discount there. Sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX using the links down below. I personally trade on BitUnix right now and BitGet. You can go ahead and sign up with those links down below. And again, you'll get 15% discount, which can build up to 45%. Sign up for the links, we'll play an ad, and we'll jump back in. I'd like to introduce our partner, BitUnix. BitUnix is a global, non-KYC, no country restriction exchange, making it a perfect exchange to trade on if you're from the USA, from Canada, the Netherlands, or just prefer to trade without KYC. This exchange is a futures and spot exchange with over 200 different trading pairs and some of the lowest fees in the game. If you sign up with my link down below, you'll get access to 15% off your trading fees, as well as an exclusive reward center where you can claim up to a multitude in USDT prizes. So go ahead and sign up with my link down below for 15% off, and I'll see you in there. Okay guys, let's go ahead and get stuck back into it. Sorry for a little bit of a longer intro there. A lot of important stuff talked about again prior to that advertisement. We have a whole bunch going on in the market, but we're going to start off with the total 3 because this is probably the easiest chart we're going to be discussing today. Now, a lot of you got questions of, Whale, what are you doing for Bitcoin? Are you selling? Are you holding? Are you expecting higher? What are you doing with altcoins? There's a lot of questions, but let's just focus on the easy chart first, which is a total 3 market cap. Now, the total 3 market cap has 2 key points of resistance and 2 key points of support. The resistances acting as confirmations and the supports acting as invalidations. Very clear stuff. Simply put, while the total 3 is sitting above 640 billion market cap at this point here, we are expecting an eventual parabolic season for altcoins. Simply, that is the most simple put method way we can explain. Now, whether we see short-term pullbacks or not is a different question, but if we're looking at the higher time frame, provided we sustain above that level, we are expecting continuations into what will eventually, hopefully, be a parabolic season, right? The next key level is going to be our downtrend. Our downtrend is spanning from our all-time high back in November 2021 and our March-April high back in 2024. We've actually broken through this level. We would not like to see the price break back below. If we do, we are very likely to retest that 640 billion. Those are our invalidations. We break below here, we are in a lot of trouble for continuations lower. I do not think that is going to happen, but we have to be aware of that. At the moment, it's bullish, it is very bullish, and it is very likely to continue higher. But the two key levels we need to break above are going to be our March-April high, that is a must, which is 758 billion, and the most important resistance at 840 billion. If we are able to break through both of these levels, we are entering the parabolic season. The parabolic season is above this resistance. We break that resistance at 840, we enter the parabolic altcoin cycle. You want to see altcoins go up 100, 200% every now and again? We're going to have to break through 840 billion to see that. You want to see a 2021 rally? We have to break through 840 billion to see that. While we are under that region, we are not going to see a parabolic season. We are in a very strong altcoin push, but we're not in the parabolic phase yet. So we have to see that. Now, what will need to happen for that to occur? What will we have to see? Well, number one, we need to see Bitcoin dominance drop. Bitcoin dominance needs to push toward the downside, meaning money is rotating out of Bitcoin. And number two, we need to see the total market cap increase. The total market cap is currently retesting the prior 2021 all-time high, which is, again, not only a major resistance, but if we look at the measured move of our channel, that is going to be the exact breakout target. So we've actually completed the measured move expectation of our consolidation. This move is officially finished, and now we are testing resistance. So we don't have any structural information in regards to how the price action is doing right now. We have to assume a potential rejection while we are in resistance until we break above. So I'm actually expecting a potential pullback here for the crypto market before we see any continuations higher. Now, if we do break through here, it is likely we will then see altcoins rally. We'll likely then see Bitcoin continue a little bit higher, and the total market cap will explode. So overall, it's looking fantastic, but we are coming close now to a pretty big resistance for both the total and for the altcoin market after what was a fantastic rally for both crypto, for both Bitcoin, and for altcoins. Let's now move over to Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Bitcoin. Well, look at that, guys. Already seeing a correction here as we were warning about on that smaller time frame. But we'll come back to our chart in a second. Let's start over here. So for the past 8 months, guys, we've been telling you Bitcoin is bullish. Bitcoin's going up. We're going to see 85K. And look, we couldn't have been more clear. We were saying that every single day. We were showing you the charts. We're discussing how the technicals are working. We were giving you justifications on the macro charts. We're using confluence from economic data and everything. And we have seen the price go up. We have seen that move play out. If we take the measured move of this channel and apply it to the breakout point, the target was 85,000. So we've slightly exceeded that target for Bitcoin. As per the structural formation, we can now remove it. It is done. We have seen the move. We are in a brand new all-time high. And it becomes very tricky to assess how the price action is going to develop in these all-time high regions because we have no historical data. Horizontal price points by nature only have significance when buyers and sellers have made decisions at those levels in the past, and thus we can see how we are likely going to react in comparison to how we have reacted at the prior time we were at those horizontal levels. So it is very, very hard to give an assessment in regards to exactly how Bitcoin is looking right now from a macro sense at this point, as we don't have any historical data. We can only make assumptions based on educated guesses, which we are doing today. So right now, the key levels we are really watching for on this chart are going to be the prior highs at this point here. Not that we're going to come down and retest. I don't think we'll come down to retest, but it is still going to be a critical daily level. And of course, that daily RSI uptrend. That is still going to be a significant level in regards to the momentum on the daily chart. This level will likely be broken at some point in the future, right? The RSI is not just going to go up over here and just stay up. It is likely at some point we're going to see a retest, we're going to see a break, and then a continuation. So that RSI trend line is still something we are watching for. Let's move over to the macro charts and discuss, when we are going to turn bearish and what our targets are for Bitcoin. And while we do that, I want to talk about a post I made on Twitter, and excuse my French over here, but we have to give ourselves a pat on the back because we have been relentlessly bullish from 16.5k. If we go through all of the YouTube videos we've ever made and we talk about everything, you know, we told you guys we were basically the first people out there who publicly turned bullish at 64k. And I caught a lot of slack for that. I actually lost 500 subscribers for even turning bearish at the exact top. That's how high of a euphoria was. We told you we were expecting 18,000. We saw a correction at 18,000. We ended up buying at 18,000 and then buying again at 16.5k, and we have been relentlessly bullish since. And this is the first time I am taking profits on my Bitcoin positions. I am taking a significant proportion of my money out of Bitcoin now, securing that profit, not because I don't think Bitcoin's going to go higher, but you have to pay yourself, right? What is the point of trading and making money if you're not putting it in your pocket? 16.5 to 90k is a freaking amazing move, and you have to take some of that money off the table, especially after we see these significant expansionary moves toward the upside. Now, I do think Bitcoin is likely to go higher, and we'll discuss that in just one moment. But if you're wondering what I am doing with my Bitcoin, I'm actually taking some profits off the table here, and I'll then rotate those profits back into altcoins when I deem that is suitable. Moving over to the macro chart. So at the moment, I am trading off an invalidation method. The invalidation method I am using is based on two charts. The first one is the 2-week chart, and the second one is going to be the weekly chart. Now, the reason I use invalidation methods is because I'm not looking to predict the exact top to the dollar. I might get within a week, I might get within 2 weeks, but my objective is by the time the top is in, I want to be completely out of my Bitcoin positions. We generally see altcoins run for another 26 days post Bitcoin top, so altcoins are okay, but I generally want to be all out of Bitcoin by the time the top is in, which means by the time I get my macro sell signal, I am actually out of my Bitcoin positions, entering into the next bear market. So we have to trade similar to what we trade on the S&P 500, an invalidation method. We will be bullish until the macro chart suggests we should be bearish. And one of the two key ways we look at that are going to be using our baseline of Ichimoku cloud on the 2-week chart and our leading span A and Gaussian channel on the weekly charts. Firstly, the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud, what we can see is when we break the baseline, we essentially enter a strong bull market. When we are below the baseline, we are in a downtrend. We are simply waiting for the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud to be broken, and when we break that level, that is when we'd expect a macro downtrend for Bitcoin. When will we buy Bitcoin again? And this piece of advice, guys, has enabled me to buy the bottom in 2 cycles. This is like a golden piece of advice. I wait until the baseline of the Ichimoku cloud on the 2-week closes below the leading span B of the Ichimoku cloud. I will show you my prior 2 purchases. Right over here, that is how I got 16.5k, and in the prior cycle, right over here, I bought Bitcoin around $2,000, a little bit higher than 2,000 or 4,000 AUD, around this point over here. So we saw exact bottom print at that point. Entry, exact bottom print at that point entry. Predicting bottoms are easier because we have historical data. Predicting tops are not easy. You have to scale out of your positions going into tops, and by the top is in, you want to mostly be out of your position. So what am I doing? I'm waiting for the Ichimoku cloud baseline to break. That is the macro top confirmation. My next entry point for Bitcoin will be upon the 2-week breakdown of the Ichimoku baseline, which will print the bottom wherever that may be. The next invalidation method I will use in conjunction with this is going to be the weekly chart. We wait for the leading span B and the Gaussian channel to break down. When we break below these regions, that is the macro top signal for Bitcoin. These are macro top reversal points for Bitcoin. Now let's talk about when the top could be. So we just talked about reversal points. You know, this is going to be post top. Let's talk about when the top is going to be. Now, like I said, we have to make speculative, educated assumptions to when the top will be in because we have no historical data. The first thing I'm watching is going to be the vortex trend indicator, which simply assesses the change of strength in a trend. We have an uptrend, we have a downtrend, but how is that strength developing through that trend, and when does it shift? I am watching for a retest of the vortex trend downtrend. We have had tops here, we have tops here, we have tops here. We are watching for a retest. If we retest that point, I will then assume whatever price Bitcoin is likely to be a top. I'm also watching two things. I am watching the 12 and 18 bar theory, and I'm watching the monthly RSI. The 12 and 18 bar theory suggests that a top will be March to April 2025. Therefore, if we see a possible top, such as this top, right? Such as this top, this move over here, which happens prior to March to April 2025, which is here, we take this with less macro significance as we would if this were to occur during or after March to April 2025, which means we do not think this is the macro top for Bitcoin. It is less likely that it is, according to our cyclical date range trends. We are likely to see a top develop within or after March to April 2025. That is how we're playing it from a date range trend perspective, and from a momentum perspective, I don't know if this one is going to be sufficient based on how the price action has moved through the last 36 or 24 months. If we'll see the RSI break up and then drop back below the 80 point, that is what I'd be watching for a negative momentum shift and a potential continuation into a downtrend. Again, we have seen in prior cycles when the 80 is lost, that generally marks the second week of the top or the exact weekly candle of the top before we enter these macro downtrends. So I'd be watching for a similar thing there. Now, that is kind of how I am playing it. Again, everyone's going to have a different projection. Everyone's going to have a different theory, but I would like to leave one more note before I finish off the video, or two more notes. Number one, you are going to see absurdly high targets. And a lot of people are going to say, I'm incorrect. Now, I'd like to ask those people, where were those people calling the top at 64K in the prior cycle? Where were those people calling the top or calling the bottom at 16.5K? This isn't luck. I use strategy, I use proven theories, I use proven methods to predict these, and I use more than just the charts. I use economic trends. I use, particularly in the bottom prediction, I use the assumption, which is more of a educated guess, that as the market moves towards risk off, which is essentially interest rates theorizing to eventually drop, we will see the market move towards that as it moves based on perceived systematic risk. So I track perceived systematic risk, and I use that in my assessments for macro projections, which is why I've said many, many times, while the perceived systematic risk is leaning bullish, we should expect the markets to rise. We should expect the markets to rise because people trade based on emotions. The market is forward-seeing. It is not reflective of the economy. A lot of people are looking at the price of Bitcoin at 16.5K and say, well, the economy is still weak and therefore we're going lower. It's not how the markets move. It's completely wrong. And again, I have a background in economics, so it allows me to do this, but I shared all of this information with you guys during the process. My second bit of advice would be take profit. You have to take profit. Do not sit there trying to get the exact top, and definitely do not sit there with an exact price point you are going to sell. If you're sitting here today and saying, well, Whale, I just bought and I'm not selling to 150K, well, guess what? You're an idiot, because it's not going to work out for you very well. And if it does, it is luck. It's literally just luck. And if you do that 10 times in a row, you're probably going to lose maybe 8 times out of the 10, okay? It is not how you trade. Just because you are on a macro chart doesn't mean you throw away all the fundamental principles of profitable day trading. It is applicable just on a higher time frame. It's the same process as used on a 1-minute chart when scalp trading as you use on a macro chart. It's exactly the same thing. So take profit. Do not be like the fools in the last cycle and the cycle before, when they're up significant sums and they run their portfolios down to negative 85%. Every single person who watches these videos should be able to exit this cycle making more money than they entered with if they take profit. It's only the ones who get greedy that will end up being the deer in the headlights, unable to click sell, unable to realize losses, unable to take profits, and they run their portfolio to zero, and then they panic sell out of anger and emotion, and they crawl back over here asking for help. So make sure you are on top of that, guys. Stay on top of your emotions. Have a fantastic day. A big week ahead. No video tomorrow because of CPI. We'll have a video on Thursday discussing everything, and I'll catch you guys then.